So, welcome back to the studio, where, as a treat for Christmas, I'm able to share some interviews I conducted last month while in New York. So, I was visiting in order to conduct some on the ground research of new and noteworthy store experiences, all in preparation for our store tour in January. We'll be at the NRF Big Show on January 12th to 14th, and this is the National Retail Federation's annual retail event. It draws about 35,000 retailers to New York's Javits Center for a pretty intense couple of days. Now, I asked on LinkedIn a month or so ago for recommendations of stores to visit, and I must say it was such a generous response. We received over 100 contributions, totaling some 150 stores, and I visited 102 of those suggestions. Now, as I recover, I will be writing up the results of the visits to share in February. But for now, and I think in the spirit of a Christmas gift, I'm going to share a couple of the interviews I grabbed during my visit there. So we have three very interesting and different guests today. We've talked a lot this year about the evolution in department store. We've talked about brands going direct to consumer and the new trends in beauty, especially as it relates to a new acronym for me, the DNVBs, or Digitally Native Vertical Brands. So let's start with beauty. I visited Savannah Sachs, the CEO of Tula Beauty. Tula is a brand that's not only a leader in clean beauty, but in treating the whole skin biome. Look, I'll let Savannah explain as we join her in their lovely offices high above the traffic in New York, although not quite high enough to avoid the occasional New York horn blasts. I'm in the very lovely offices of Tula with Savannah, who's the CEO. So, in case people didn't see you on the cover of Internet Retailing magazine some years ago, just give us an update. Who are you and what is Tula?
Yes, definitely. So thank you for having me. I'm Savannah. I think we first spoke when I was running the UK market at Birchbox, which was a really amazing adventure and learned a lot. And now I'm at Tula Skincare. So we're clean and effective skincare powered by probiotics and superfoods. And I can tell you a little bit more about the brand, but for some context, we're majority direct to consumer on Tula.com, and we also have some great retail partners, which I'm sure we'll dig in on in a bit.
Great. Look, so many key words you said there. And I feel healthy just hearing those words.
Yes.
So let's dig into that. Because when we first met you, you mentioned Birchbox, which was a sort of format busting pioneer that took the idea of samples and really just changed the way that the direct to consumer beauty business could work, which people are now copying and so on. So that's kind of not old hat, but we've understood that now. What seems to have changed in beauty from an outsider's perspective is this new focus on ingredients. So not just good ingredients, not just non-animal, but this progression towards clean and nothing at all added. So just tell me, is this something that you woke up and thought, I'm on a mission for clean, or was it I'm on a mission for digital and this is what we need? Where did the concept come from?
Definitely. So one of our founders is Dr. Rashini Raj, and she's a practicing gastroenterologist, which is quite unique for skincare. She's also an all-around incredibly impressive woman. She's a wellness media expert, a mom of two, an entrepreneur, and she also looks like she's in her 20s, so she's onto something. And she studied probiotics for her entire career, for over 15 years, and saw the power of probiotics firsthand with her patients, where they would come in with gut issues. She would put them on a probiotic, and not only was their internal health rebalanced, but their skin was glowing and their acne was clearing up. And it was right around the same time as increasing research around the skin microbiome and the power of probiotics applied topically. So that was the light bulb moment where she saw this breakthrough innovation in skincare. And what we've done at Tula is think about, how do you take the science of probiotics and create a relatable, desirable brand for the modern consumer? And so the way we've done that is being digital first and social first in everything that we do. 75% of our customers find out about Tula on social or through influencers. So influencers is an incredible growth engine. And that's why, not only because of the brand and what we stand for and really playing in that intersection of beauty and wellness, do we attract a younger customer? Our average age is 32, but also because...
But looks 20.
Yes, exactly. But also because we have digital and social in our bones and in our DNA, and that's where the direct-to-consumer side comes into play. And to your point on clean, we're thrilled to be part of the clean movement. We believe it's a fundamental shift where customers want clean, safe ingredients, but they're not willing to sacrifice efficacy or results. And so it's not about natural anymore, it's about clean. And for us, we're clean and effective. And that's where probiotics come in, because it's a natural ingredient that's truly powerful and delivers results. And I would say that the biggest challenge in clean is really that there's no standard definition. And so for us, what's important is transparency to the customer and being very clear about what's in and what's out and empowering them to make the right choice for their routine. So for example, if you go onto Tula.com, have a very simple filter where you can check off boxes to see what's in and out of the products. And it's straightforward, but most brands don't have that. And so it really comes back to transparency.
And it's interesting you say that, because I was looking at the site, and it's tempting for people my age to be quite dismissive of the cosmetics industry, because everything's a pro-lipid, peptide, dye in a bubble, this or that. And of course, we've seen sort of challenges with microplastics and filler ingredients as well. I was interested that not only did you have very natural ingredients, but you said why they were there and how they were used. So, I mean, the transparency seemed to be baked into the way you communicate your product and with the customers.
Definitely. That's at the core of what we do. And I think that I mentioned this sort of evolution from natural to clean. The cheeky example we use is that poison ivy is natural. You don't want to put that on your face. And there's incredibly safe and also efficacious synthetic ingredients. And so for us, we talk about safety, not source. And we turn to clinical research and studies and decide what should be in and out of the product. And for us, it's not enough to define a brand in terms of what's not in it. You really need to speak to what is in it that's delivering the customer what they want.
It's not the absence of, it's not free form anymore.
That's not enough to build a brand, right? And so for us, that's why we come back to probiotics and superfoods as the core of our ingredient story.
Yeah. And again, it's interesting with that parallel discussion about the gut biome and wellness from inside, as well as the growing recognition of the skin as an organ, and a complex one as well.
Exactly.
Rather than just a cling film for organs.
And that's what's exciting, is that we're at this intersection of beauty and wellness. So we have topical probiotics in our skincare range, and we also have an ingestible. So a daily probiotic supplement, a pill that you take every day. And that's really playing into beauty inside out. So we're excited to continue to explore in that area as well. Stay tuned for an exciting launch in Q1 of next year in the ingestible space. Because for us, we really want to be part of wellness with credibility. With Dr. Raj at the forefront, we were very careful about how we think about ingestibles, and we really want to deliver results. So we've taken our time there, but we're excited for a new launch.
So we've mentioned transparency, and we've also spoken about digital first and influencers.
Yes.
Quite a troubled area in many ways with, how should sponsorship be disclosed? Are they trustworthy? Are they themselves experts? It's a minefield, especially once you get out of the controlled environment of your own messaging. So how do you work with influencers and digital marketing to maintain the integrity as well as the transparency?
Very important question. We are very serious about influencer marketing. So it drives 50% of our revenue on Tula.com, and that's directly attributed through codes. What's more impressive is that we run it like a performance marketing channel, and it's more efficient in terms of ROAS, return on ad spend, than our paid channels on Facebook, Instagram, and search. So it's an incredibly powerful and efficient growth engine for us. And we do it a bit differently. So we run it entirely in-house since it's such a core capability. And we run it like a hybrid affiliate model. So the influencers get a commission. It's really social selling at the core of it.
Yes,
And
so
so
Amway
incentives
for
are
the digital
aligned.
age.
Exactly. And we also, of course, focus on micro and macro influencers. That's where we really see the sweet spot in terms of performance. So typically 100,000 to 500,000 followers, with Instagram being the key channel, and then YouTube and blogs is secondary. And we also actually focus beyond beauty. Beauty is a very crowded space. And so when you're thinking about how to get the economics to work, we find the most success with lifestyle, fitness, mommy bloggers, not only because it's a little bit less crowded, but because they can tell the broader brand story about Tula. At the end of the day, we're about inspiring confidence by making it easier to achieve a healthy balance inside and out. And we feel they're the best brand ambassadors because they can speak holistically about their own life and how Tula fits into it.
So in terms of the fit then, it sounds like this is more a holistic approach around activity, wellness, rather than another shelf in the crowded beauty section of a department store.
Yes, exactly. And I think, I'm sure we'll touch on retail in a moment, but we're proud to be an anchor brand in Ulta's wellness category. And so we really see an opportunity to broaden the conversation.
Well, let's go to retail via the digital first label.
Yes.
Because I think there are two types of digital first. There are people who've use the speed and agility and the capability of digital to establish themselves. And there are people who are running a blog who haven't yet become retailers. So what does digital first mean to you, and how the brand was launched but now will grow?
Definitely. So we really see digital first and social first being a core part of how we've built our brand, and I'd say also our culture. I think for us, we move incredibly fast. We react quickly to customer insights and trends and needs, and that customer first and customer back mentality really, and having so much data from our customer is really the powerful side of being digital first. So for example, we have a digital skin quiz where you can go onto Tula.com and self-diagnose your skin type and tell us about your concerns and needs. And we recommend you then the right Tula routine. We also get over 300,000 data points every month from that skin quiz.
Wow.
And we're using that to inform everything that we do. Our product roadmap and what we're launching any given year, to our marketing message and how we can really speak to the customer in a way that resonates. So I think that's an example of when you have a sizable D2C business, when you're digital first, you're that much closer to the customer, and that can infuse everything that you do.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, just as I said back at Birchbox, it's still pretty much the case where close to 90% of beauty is sold offline. And so we knew from day one we wanted to be an omni-channel brand. And we've done that maybe differently than the way you hear from other D2C brands that are opening their own stores and focusing, whether it's experiential pop-ups or more permanent locations, their own brick and mortar locations. We believe that in beauty, the customer wants to shop multi-brand. She wants to walk into a store and pick up her favorite face wash, try a new mascara, and maybe grab some dry shampoo on the way out. And so for us, we want to be where the customer is and make it easy and convenient for him or her. And so for us, because of that customer shopping behavior, and also because within the crazy retail landscape, specialty beauty is still incredibly strong. There's really great players there, especially in the US. And so we decided to go with Ulta. And we're in all 1,100 of their doors.
Wow.
We also are with Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus, as well as online with QVC and Dermstore. The way we think about it is be where the customer is. She's shopping multi-brand. And actually, I mentioned the data we get. We see that actually 32% of our customers are in major cities. So the majority are outside major cities. And that's why Ulta and their footprint across the country with over 1,100 doors felt like the right fit.
But that's quite a jump, though. So, one of the challenges of being a direct-to-consumer business going to retail is, one day you've got 1,000 products, you can give it to 1,000 customers. When you've got 1,000 doors, all of a sudden, you need 1,000,000 products just to fill those stores. So that transition from digital first or only to a wholesale running a large estate is a major capital, staffing, relationship challenge.
Definitely. It was
I said
exciting.
As a statement rather than a
yes.
question.
No, you're spot on. I think for us, we saw retail as a way to drive top line revenue, but also to drive brand awareness. Being in 1,100 Ulta doors in the top shelf of their wellness section is sort of like 1,100 out of home advertising moments.
Yeah.
And so we saw it as a big opportunity. To your point, it's a big undertaking, and it's incredibly different from the digital e-com world. So there are inventory considerations, of course. It's a whole different level of operational complexity, and it's a different team and skill set. I come from the digital e-commerce world, and so I've had a very steep learning curve in retail, and I'm lucky to have a rock star VP of sales that literally lives in Ulta's backyard, and she's done this many times before, most recently at Dry Bar. And I've been learning so much from her. And what we did was really lean in. And people say it's easy to get on shelf, it's hard to stay there. And so we've been focused on driving sell-through.
Yeah.
And so, I think the results speak for themselves in the sense that we launched with Ulta in the middle of last year with just 5 products on shelf, and we've already tripled our SKU count. So we're up to 15 products, and our sales ranking is jumping by the day, which is really exciting. I think for me, the most interesting element is when you have the majority of your business direct to consumer and yet a sizable and fast growing retail component. How do you think about growth investment across those two channels? Because the P&Ls are entirely different. It's comparing apples to oranges.
And the time cycles. So
exactly.
The ability to change one, you live with your decisions a little bit longer.
Definitely.
Or when you've got 1,100
Definitely.
things to deal with. Yeah.
And that's quite interesting because, for example, we've had new product launches as a key part of our growth strategy. And this year we've launched 10 products. And we can get a product to market in 6, 7, 8 months for our Tula.com business. But you have to hit those retrofit dates in retail. And so to your point, there's just longer lead time and more planning. We see that working well, though, in that we can have a launch on Tula.com, see how well it does, and then roll out to retail. And it also helps with some exclusivity on Tula.com and our D2C business. So we're really prioritizing owning that customer relationship directly.
And how then do the channels work together? So the other day I was speaking to a very offline brand that is growing their global D2C, but from a wholesale heritage. So if you like, they're the inverse of you because they have those relationships and store understanding, and now they're learning the digital. But one of the challenges they've had is getting the stores and the data there to work with communicate with the customer. So if you're a great online customer, but maybe the range in the local store isn't great, how do you balance that messaging, go to store, but also buy online, and maybe giving back to your retail partners as well? How does that blend mix work?
I think the biggest challenge, and would love to speak with anyone that's figured this out, is connecting the customer across all channels and touch points when you're working through other retailers in a wholesale model. I think the biggest challenge alongside that is attribution. It's very difficult to weave in retail to your multi-touch attribution model. So I certainly can't say that we figured that out. I think for us, in terms of where we are in our growth trajectory, and for some context here, Tula.com grew 184% last year, so close to tripled. And this year we're on track for above 150%, so more than doubling again, which is incredible. So right now everything is incremental. We have so much opportunity for growth. We're working off a sizable base, but we're not yet too concerned about channel conflict. We really see it as holistically growing the brand. And as I said earlier, it's not only about top line line revenue in retail, but creating that brand awareness and meeting a customer that maybe is going to be really hard to find through influencers or through a Facebook ad. So I think we certainly have challenges in terms of connecting the dots for the customer journey and also attribution, but we see that as well worth it for the opportunity to continue driving
Again,
growth.
I think your point there about, because it's all growth and addition at the moment, is just a great situation to be in,
Yes.
rather than people literally managing every nickel and dime of margin in maybe more mature, saturated markets. Now, we're talking about growth. Always lovely to hear that. Where are you going next? I mean, obviously, not so much detail, but the trajectory now of clean is probably set for a while, but everyone's going to copy it from the big players, to more startups. So where do you see the business growing over the coming few years? And what's your focus on that?
Definitely. So it feels like we've really hit this unbelievable inflection point, and I'm very excited for the next 12 months. We're focusing on the US. We're really happy with our distribution channels and footprint, and it's just about getting more folks to hear about Tula. And so the key ways we've been doing that, I touched on innovation and new product launches. That's been an incredible growth driver. So, for example, this year we launched a Glow and Get It Cooling and Brightening Eye Balm, which we launched in January. We bought what we thought was 4 months worth of inventory. We sold out in 10 days.
Wow.
We restocked in March with
nice
twice as much
then.
inventory.
Nice
Exactly, good problems to have. We restocked in March with twice as much inventory. We'll sold out in 7. So we racked up a wait list of over 25,000 people for our third restock.
Wow.
And what was even more incredible was that 68% of customers that bought that product were new to Tula.
Okay.
So an unbelievable customer acquisition engine. So if you follow along, you'll see lots more exciting product launches in the next 12 months. And as I mentioned, not only playing in the clean skincare space, but diving deeper into wellness and ingestibles, which will be very exciting.
And is that something you think you'll be doing under your brand, or as everyone seems to be doing now, the collabs or Tula X, someone else? How do you see that landscape working?
Definitely. So, what's exciting about Tula is that it's a brand that stands for both skincare and wellness. So we'll be launching that new ingestible in Q1 under the Tula brand. Stay tuned for collaborations down the road. I think with our strong influencer capability and relationships, clearly there's some opportunity there. I can't say much more beyond that. But I think it's an exciting time about, how do you build a differentiated brand and where are all the ways and paths that you can do take on that journey.
Great. Well, look, Savannah, thanks so much for sharing those thoughts with us. I love that, you said inflection point. I'm seeing a change and the growth clean on the one hand, but also more purposeful connections with customers. So it's a very exciting time, I think, for brands with purpose and vision. Fantastic to hear the story. And hopefully we'll catch up with you next year and understand a bit more about the new launches once they're public.
Can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, so many interesting concepts coming from this discussion. The evolution of beauty and the routes to market. It really was very inspiring. So I packed up and headed down to Soho to meet with the CEO and co-founder of Showfields. I'm a bit at a loss how to describe this place. It's a renovated 5-floor warehouse in a trendy part of town. If a department store and an art gallery had a child with a pop-up and an experience company, perhaps we'd come somewhere close. It's such a cliche, I know, to talk about reinvented retail, but for once this actually feels like a sufficiently new approach that's coherent and a great consumer experience that, maybe that word is justified for once. Let's join Amir in their lounge, and of course, since it's New York, we'll never be far from the bustle of retail, of lifts pinging, and the drone of machinery.
My name is Amir Zwickel. I'm one of the founders of Showfields. I lead all the real estate part of this venture, including construction and expansion strategy, etc.
Great. So we're on the 4th floor of a remarkable building. So how would you describe Showfields to someone who hasn't seen it yet?
So Showfields is For online brands, for digital-first brands, we're a platform that allows them to open their own physical store very, very easily and seamlessly. For the consumer entering the door, we're a space where they can get inspired, be exposed to art, content, and the brands of the future.
When I walk in, it's a very highly curated space. So it's not just like a random mall.
Yeah.
So how do you pick the brands who are going to be part of the experience?
So, we're not very much vertical focused, but we look for brands that have the same DNA, that share the same DNA. Meaning they all have to be mission driven, consumer centric, design oriented, and basically they're all after the same consumer, which is also what makes them empower each other when in this setting. The same person who buys the quick toothbrush is the person who will shop Mr. Dog and each and every deodorant.
So these are like the gold dust of consumers. So you can imagine a startup business plan. They're saying we're going to target, this Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z person with disposable income, and yet you're aggregating them all into a physical space. Now, we were talking earlier on as we looked around. What is the difference? If I'm a brand, why would I come here rather than setting up my own pop-up shop or setting up my own physical retail?
So physical retail is very much inaccessible for most of the brands in the world. The barriers to entry to physical retail have never been so high. It's not only about finding the right space, it's about negotiating the lease with the landlord and signing on the long-term commitment, which is something that most of the brands in the world cannot even contemplate. It's about designing the space and renovating it and hiring the staffing and having the technology to help you capture whatever is going on there and generating the traffic. So all these barriers prevent for most of the brands in the world from being able to even consider prime location physical retail. Going to open your own pop-up, it's something that costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars to do today. So it's not even like the same level of, affordability for these brands. And the reason they come here is because we're able to tell their story and create an experience around it in a very immersive, cohesive way, but also in a very elegant and elevated way that will make these brands feel comfortable being here. And we do it for a flat fee that varies, let's say, between 5 to 20 grand a month.
Right, so irrespective of their turnover, it's a flat fee.
Exactly.
Which is refreshing to hear.
Yeah, it's a flat fee. We don't touch their sales. And actually, there's a lot of thought process that led us to the conclusion that we shouldn't touch their sales. We decided to put the consumer entering the door in front. So what we're optimizing for is engagement with consumers. And that's what we're optimizing for, not sales. We feel that part of the reason for which when you enter a department store here on Fifth Ave, or when you enter a department store in Hong Kong or a shopping mall in Tel Aviv, you find the same brands, is because everyone are optimizing for sales. And they are not getting exposed to new brands as they should have because they're optimizing also only for sales. And also considering that some of these brands that are joining Showfields are not here for sales. They're here for different types of ROI that they can see here. And thinking about ROI, in general, that's one of the core of the changes. That's maybe the core of the change that the retail industry is going through, because online, companies can benefit from many different levels of engagement with consumer, not necessarily sales of tangible goods. And in the physical world, until very recently, the only ROI existed was sales, 0 or 1. And that's changing. Once technology allows us to capture other levels of engagement in the physical world as well, brands can justify the cost of creating a physical touch point, not only by sales. Usually it's a combination of a few different ROIs that we see here.
Now, I think that's fascinating, the optimizing of the customer. When I walked in, the level of friendliness and staff knowledge and staff service was very high, even for New York.
Yep.
So tell me a bit about the staff you're hiring here. Do you run all of the staff or just the front of house staff?
So it's a very good question, because we found out that one of the biggest barriers to entry to physical retail is staffing. We didn't know that. So we're providing a seamless solution that allows brands to choose out of two options. First option is to be part of the shared staffing experience by Showfields, and we have a brand host for every 2 or 3 brands. And then whenever a customer entering one of these brand spaces and is engaging with the product, they'll come, they offer more information, and each one of them has a point of sale on him. Another option for brands is to have a dedicated staff member, which would cost them much less to pay us than it would have cost them if they would have taken care of it by themselves. The entire staff, all the brand hosts, we define them as awesome, ordinary people. None of them is a salesperson by profession. All of them are storytellers, doing other creative things with their lives, either like actors or artists, etc. They're all trained across the board very, very well on each one of these brands. And they're all shareholders in Showfields.
Fantastic. I love that. Awesome, ordinary people. I'm going to have to pretend I thought of that. Now, we can hear in the background people having fun. So, as I said, we're on the 4th floor. We're in between a lovely entertaining space, very loft style, and a fantastic outdoor garden area. So, what is this 4th floor for? How does that fit into the experience?
So the 4th floor is very different than any other floor of this building because it's not specifically utilized for brands. It is utilized for brands, but indirectly, meaning that part of the value proposition when joining Showfields for these brands is the ability to host events here. That's part of their needs, but there's no reason not to share this space. Not every brand has to own this space, but they can share it and they can use it for any type of event they like. If they want to launch a new product, if they want to host a dinner for influencers, if they want to host a workshop or a panel around like a subject that like empowers their brand, that's where they can do that. This is also the space where like we host community events that we organize and we initiate as part of Showfields and like the Friends of Showfields. We have like around 40,000 people who are already friends of Showfields and who are getting notified of these events. It's also being published in our website, and we have like an event here almost every day.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, really cool stuff.
So, people often talk about customer engagement and bringing brands together, but this is physical as well as digital. I mean, it is, it's great. I'll take some photos to share with our listener later. Now, look, for me, this seems like a rebirth of some old ideas. So between the department store, the emporium, the boutique with that strong curation, plus digital. So there are loads of things coming together with a fantastic twist. Great atmosphere in the store. So you've made this statement. What comes next? Because everyone's going to be copying this now. So what are you going to do next to change again?
So, like we're used to think that from the one end, we have this like traditional retail industry. And from the other end, which is like a $2 trillion industry still growing. And then we had a much smaller $600 billion industry of e-commerce, which is obviously growing much faster. And the discussion, like during the last few years, was who's going to win this race? And today, everyone understands that one cannot live without the other. And everything in between, we call it C-commerce, consumer commerce, that is like defined by like 5 C's. So includes convenient, both for the customers and for the brands to activate their own physical touchpoints, community, content, curation, convenience, and connecting everything, right? So when I think about what's next, I think that like very high level, if 10 years ago, every brand understood that they need to have a website, and 5 years ago, every brand understood that they need to have e-commerce presence, Shopify, Etsy, Amazon, etc. Today, every brand is about to understand or is understanding that they have to have a physical touch point. Yeah. And so I think what's really differentiates Showfields is that like we're trying to do everything out of these like 5 C's that I mentioned inside the space, not only tell the brand story in a very immersive way, but be a very strong curator inside our space, build our community around it. So, I mentioned all the barriers to entry to physical retail, and I think in addition to all these barriers to entry, the consumer has changed. So the way to approach consumers and the way to connect with them in the physical world is even much more complex than it used to be. So it's tough.
And so how do you pick the brands who are going to be here, and how long do they have a residency?
So we get a lot of inbounds today of brands like approaching us, like asking to join, and like we pick the ones who were interested in the most. And we also identify brands that we want to see here, and we do the outreach to them. We scan the internet for these brands according to certain categories, and we try to bring in like the brands that will create like the strongest engagement with these consumers, with the right
And
blend.
once they've been with you,
And they need to join, for your other part of the question,
Yeah.
they need to join for 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
So after the 6 months is over, they've worked with other brands, they've had the experience here, they've met their customer. How do you keep in touch with them afterwards? Is there a sort of, alumni of Showfields group, or
So
do
it's
they just
something
go
that
on?
is in the works still. We're very young. We only opened like a few months ago, but definitely we have a very strong customer success team that is in touch with these brands. A lot of them ask to extend. If we approve it, by the way, we make them change the experience, because part of the promise to the consumer is that like every time you come here, the experiences around these brands are different or new, and the show areas are different as well.
Yeah.
When I say show areas, I refer to 50% of the building, because like the way we see it, we divide the building to two types of areas, 50% show and 50% fields. The 50% of the show includes all the experiential part, all the art, and all the content that we pour in this space, including the fourth floor, etc. The field part are these contained areas where each brand can customize and activate his own space and create some kind of an immersive experience around his brand.
And that shouldn't work, but walking around, it has that combination of discovery. There's art on odd walls and corners, and the way things blend as you move through. It's really noticeable.
Yeah, I think to that point, like something, we try to rethink physical retail entirely. And one of the things that are like very much like the characteristics of a traditional department store is that all of them have a very open layout. And we intentionally created these partitions along the space in order for you to get lost in the space.
And so a journey, like a maze.
Exactly.
But,
And we think that one of the most special things that can only happen in the physical world to this sense is serendipity. And that's what we want you to experience when you discover these brands.
Great.
I often see people that are like bringing in other friends because they were here like a couple of months ago, and then they bring a friend. You need to see that, and they're walking inside the space, and they're, wow, it's not here anymore. Yeah, it's like.
But again, if you're in the area, there's nothing worse than a store that doesn't change more than 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
So this idea of I'm going to call in because I know it'll be different, very exciting. Now look, you're on a mission, I can tell. Thanks for taking the time. What's your next big project? When you leave me today, part of things, what's exciting you about
So the most exciting part is that we want to open 2 more locations next year. I cannot disclose the locations, but like very, very exciting around that. We want to bring Showfields to all the major cities around the world, starting with 2 new locations next year in 2020. So that's what we're looking forward to.
Look, at least join your mailing list so I know where they're going to be. But look, if they're anything like this, they're going to find a good home in a number of cities. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Amir has really thought hard about how to create not only an experience, but also a business model. Of particular note, I think, is this House of Showfields idea. It's a hidden area staffed by actors. So when you journey through the rooms to experience the products, they guide you through in character as if they are part of this House of Showfields run by the eponymous Madame Showfield. Again, it sounds odd when you explain it, but once you're there, it really is quite an extraordinary experience. I filmed my own visit there, and I'll post about it later on once I've managed to get all the images together. But for once, this really is a must-do-it-yourself experience. Check out the website, showfields.com, and book the House of Showfields tour before you visit. Anyway, on to my final stop in New York City, and this was to the very posh showroom come office of Eton Shirts to visit Mariana Satanas. Mariana's from the UK and has held a succession of global digital roles in fashion, and she's now joined Eton Shirts to develop not only their digital and direct-to-consumer activities, but also their B2B and wholesale activities. Now, unlike a DNVB, this is a 100-year-old business that's migrating its operations into the digital domain. And we catch up with Mariana to learn more.
Hi, my name is Mariana Satanas, and I'm the Global Digital Sales Director at Eton Shirts.
So we're in New York in a really lovely office.
Thank you very much.
sort of showroom experience centre. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Just describe it. I mean, I'll take a photo on the way out, but how would you describe it? Given that in retail we're normally squashed like battery hens in a rundown area, this isn't like that.
No. So our head office is in Gånghester in Sweden. And it's pretty much, very similar concept where you have a showroom where we bring our wholesale customers to view the product, new collections every season. And we essentially have desks where we are working, alongside the shirts that are on the shelves.
Yeah, well, it looks like a fantastic fit out. Tell us a bit about the brand, because I see the brand a lot. I wasn't quite sure where it was from. It just feels international. So just tell us about the brand and where it fits into the market.
So the brand is Swedish, and it was started in 1928 by a couple in a village called Gånghester in Sweden, in Gothenburg, Sweden.
Yeah.
And the head office is still there. We've also got our warehouse there, and some of our production is there as well. So it was a very family-orientated business. In fact, our CEO, who just retired, is still the grandson of the founders.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and he used to be, he wasn't doing retail before, but then he got into it like 30 years ago. And so, yeah, it feels very startup-y, but it's not because, of that kind of village feel.
Yeah.
And then I would say about 10 years ago, we expanded into the US. And my boss was hired about 7 years ago. He's now the chief sales officer to really expand the distribution in the US. And it's gone from like a $1-digit $1 million to like nearly triple.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Good.
Well
done.
Great.
And you mean triple digits rather than 3 million?
Not 3 million, yeah. I mean, we wouldn't be,
I see you couldn't afford the rent here.
Right.
Now, the canny listener will note that your very strong American accent.
Yes.
So just tell us a bit about your background, because you've known each other for a while, but for those who are Googling you at the moment, you came here from a very strong luxury path, UK and then the US.
Yes. So I like to say I started my e-commerce digital education at Net-a-Porter Group. I started there in 2006 when it was just Net-a-Porter. And so we just launched in the US, in fact, in October, in summer of 2006. And, people who know, some people that don't know, there was massive growth. Very quickly.
Yes.
And we went from, just Net-a-Porter.com. I launched the Outnet and then Mr. Porter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for 9 years.
So more than triple digit.
So more than triple digit, absolutely. By the time I left the group, I was head of e-commerce for Mr. Porter. And that meant I was, I had UX, UI, the product owners kind of reporting under me, as well as the site trade, business as usual, keeping the shop running, making sure that we're converting those customers.
Yes, the trading
the
side.
Trading side, as well as working really closely with our wonderful tech team. And of course, buying and merchant and the traditional merchandisers and creative.
But then you hopped over the pond.
Yeah, I got lured over here. So 2015, I was approached by DKNY. At the time, Donna Karen had just left. LVMH had hired public school boys to, start the new collections and really have a new era of DKNY. Yeah. So I went there as VP of e-commerce to re-platform, redesign, and then I got there and they're like, hey, you're also in charge of CRM. Fancy putting a CRM system in? I was like, sure.
I wonder if any sentence that starts with "you're in charge of CRM" ever has a happy ending.
Oh gosh, it was. Do you know what? It was fun times, because it was the first time. I always wanted to, being at a pure play for so long, I wanted to kind of get the experience in working with, historic American brands such as DKNY, but who've got stores and who've got, online presence. And for me, I was like, I'm going to learn so much here. And I did. and a lot about the business. But the other aspect of it was the design and production side, which is a whole different world.
So let's just jump straight from there to here. So tell us about your role now then, because in addition to all the other things you've been picking up along the way, there's a very strong specialist store and wholesale side, as well as direct and online. So really big role. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I love a challenge, me. So I was like, 16 odd years I've been doing, traditional e-commerce, D2C. Oh, here you go. Here's a new side of things being on the wholesale side. And when I first read the job description, I was like, so what does this entail? Me just telling other people what to do? Sure, I'm great at that.
I love that job description.
But no, seriously, it was just, I didn't have to think twice about it, really, because I think where wholesale, e-commerce, digital, it's all, you talk about omni-channel, and then it's, okay, actually, let's talk about how wholesale and retail can work together.
Yes.
And yeah, it is a massive role. It's a new role within the company. I think they were looking for someone for about a year. But yeah, because it is a specialised role. Like you really need to understand how the e-commerce and digital landscape work. As also digital marketing too, which that has been my background. It's like, okay, how can I now apply that on the wholesale side?
But also that means you have to work with a lot of retailers.
I work with a lot of brands. Yeah,
are strong digital players.
Right, exactly. So a lot of our major accounts around the world, they want to charge us X amount of thousands of pounds and dollars and euros to do a campaign. And so when I start talking their language in terms of like the KPIs and but this doesn't show this and spend and everything else, they're like, I don't think they've ever really expected that from a brand like ours. And I think it shows great visionary from our leadership team, who recognise that they do need a role like this, to talk the language.
So on the role then, you have your direct trading channel.
Yes.
And are you responsible for wholesale, or is that part of another team?
Or online, digitally. So,
because you've just launched a sort of B2B wholesale digital line of business, haven't you?
With digital showroom.
Yes. So tell us a bit about that.
So we need to create efficiencies as well, right? And we need to focus more time on selling as opposed to helping customers place orders. So we still do, coming in, they've seen the fashion product, the collection, but to actually place the orders, we've created what we call the digital showroom, and they can actually go on there and place their orders. If you look at it, it is like a website, because you're shopping. Essentially, that's what they're doing. Yeah. They're shopping at a wholesale price.
Shopping at wholesale price, but with their account
details.
And order history, etc.
Order history, yeah. So they can go on there and go, right, I want a blue twill shirt in a cutaway collar with a French cuff, and give me 12 units of that. And, I suppose if Costco had a transactional website, it would be like that as well. Yeah. So, it just launched.
And what's the response been to that?
This is the first collection that we're doing it. And, it's been mixed in terms of, our major who are more digitally focused. They're like, this is great, brilliant. They save time as well and money. And then you've got specialty stores that are very traditional, very boutique, who are quite frankly scared of any bit of technology, who probably still have fax machines in their offices.
Hey, you've got to love a fax.
You've got to love a fax, right? So they're going to need some training.
But you have a field sales staff, though, so they're working with...
So they're working with them, absolutely. So, our sales team are amazing. They will get on the phone and they will train them through it. This isn't like, okay, here's a website, log in, see you later.
And so are you seeing that people are buying more deeply, the ranges? And what was the KPI for this B2B channel? Is it simply reducing the cost of order placing, or are you seeing this actually leading to improved sales?
So far, because it has been live for literally a month and a half, and we're now closing, our orders close in like a week. we are above where we were in terms of last year's collection and selling in, which is a great sign.
Yeah.
Considering this is like the first iteration of it. So yeah, you can see that people are responding. Whether or not that's going to carry on, and because there's lots of improvements that we're going to keep on doing to it, I think it will. I think people will. It's when Facebook first came, it was like, well, what's this?
Yes.
And it's just something that grows, and you're changing the way you're changing human behaviour.
And speaking of behaviour, global role for a Swedish heritage luxury end brand, but based in New York. Just other than the obvious air miles that are going to come with it, is there any reason the role is here? And how do you then work with colleagues, across the time zones and different skill centres as well?
Yeah, I can do my job anywhere in the world. It's just I just happen to be in New York, and I love New York. Don't really want to go back home just yet. So, I travel a lot, yes, because we've got our showrooms and clients all around the world. So I'm in London quite a lot at our own store on South Molson Street. We've got an office there, and in Dusseldorf as well, and in Munich I go, and Sweden. So
Right.
I am out of the country at least like every 6 to 8 weeks. I'm out of the country.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important that I do that because my team is global and it is cross-functional.
So tell us a bit about that, because you mentioned some of your clients are maybe finding the transition to digital a little bit of a challenge, but yet you're a brand that's nearly 100 years old. It does seem as if there's an embracing of digital within the business.
Yeah, no, absolutely, there is, and we implemented a new ERP. That went live last year. Our warehouse in Doncaster has now got robots.
No.
It's super cool.
Swedish robots.
Yeah, Swedish robots. Yeah, it's super cool. And as a newbie coming in, I've only been in the role for like 4 or 5 months. It's like, wow, this is it feels real traditional, but they are embracing like the digital transformation like to a scale that I've never seen for a brand, a mono brand.
And is that because the business leadership collectively is just of that mindset, or do you think that this is now just how brands need to behave?
I think our leadership team, coming from the board and our investors and the senior management team, they recognise that the world has changed and it's constantly changing, and they do need to be more focused on digital and be that digital first. I say that in inverted commas.
Or digital second.
Business, in terms of operating as well, not just having a great website and, tools. However, we don't ever want to lose that human touch. So that's why we still want our customers to come to the showroom and feel and touch the product and pick up the phone and call us when they need to. As well as our end consumers who go into the store, that's never gonna end. So it's finding the right balance of having that human touch element and what needs to be digital.
And just in terms of the product, you've had a lot of experience in the luxury end, but having gone from somewhere like Mr. Porter, which had even then a vast range of products across all categories, you're now in a specialist shirting business, again, with a real sort of craft behind the product. Are there any different challenges to being the brand known for one category compared to being whatever you want, whatever the brands are, we'll sell them to you?
Yes.
That's such a rubbish question, isn't it? Right, 1 out of 10 for asking a closed question.
No. I can say I can speak to this professionally and from a business point of view. So professionally for me, yes, it's oh my God. Not only have I gone to a mono brand, I'm actually now just a single category brand as well. So I'm going from I'm very, very focused, which has its challenges because when we do campaigns.
Yeah.
And
Whatever the question, the answer is a shirt.
yeah, well,
Sometimes a tie.
Sometimes a tie, sometimes a pocket square.
And both.
And
All three of
both,
them,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So, you have a campaign, it's like, there's a guy, we sell business shirts and formal shirts, and now we're going into like polos and more of the casual shirts.
But it's still a shirt.
But it's still a shirt. And you're not going to shoot a man just wearing a shirt. I mean, I wish, but we're not going to do that. So, it's very much, you're going to create a campaign, you want to create like a lifestyle, and that's to like bring, that's what we want to bring across. So sometimes it's like, oh man, we're focusing too much on that, on the suit, as opposed to just the shirt or the tie. So, that's challenging, but, it's a great challenge. And for me as well, it's like, I'm literally just selling shirts. But they're great quality shirts. That's the thing.
But you
and now I
manufacture
can't look
them.
at a guy the same way. I'm like, what shirt are you wearing? How, where's he made from? Like, what buttons have you got? Like, what's your?
I'm glad this is a
colour?
podcast because no one can see the contempt in your face at my. Until now, I thought particularly
I'm
lovely
looking
shirt.
you up. It is a lovely shirt. It's a lovely blue check shirt.
She's finding that, and he's not allowed back in again. But you make
I'm going
the
to get you a
shirts-
ton of Eton shirts.
Right, not too slim. You make the shirts yourselves, and
Yes.
you have a bespoke offering as well.
Yes, we do. So
And is that being made available digitally? So
yes.
could I?
So you can go to etonshirts.com and
Yes.
customise your own shirt to fit any body type.
Anyone, even mine.
Any body type, yes. And you can, the minute you submit your order, you can get it within 2 weeks, wherever you are in the world.
Which is pretty rapid.
Yeah, it's very, very rapid, yeah.
Good. Okay, maybe we should be spending some of the internet retailing money on that. Look, tell us what's next then. So you've done quite a lot already, but as you look at your agenda for the coming months, what's exciting you?
I read somewhere the other day that 40% of multi-brand websites are going to be offering marketplace to their brands. And we've just launched Harvey Nichols in September.
So extended range into their market.
Yes, so we're doing a hybrid model of their own bought wholesale, and we are also uploading our own assortment as well, stuff that they haven't bought. So they would buy our fashion collection, and we're now looking at wardrobe essentials, which is our must-haves. Again, it's a massive learning curve for me because I'm learning how to deal with and being, especially responsible for revenue on a website that I can't control the merchandising and visibility. So it's about building the relationships with those brands.
We had Gail Schumann from Harvey Nichols on the podcast. Our listener will remember. And she was talking about this challenge of, going from a very tight curation store to the internet that does everything, and then this in-between of their marketplace that's still curated, but it's just a lot bigger.
It's just a lot bigger, yeah. And that's what I'm quite wary of, and that's why I'm, especially over the next coming months where, the intention is to launch more marketplaces next year, but we don't want to have, here's an endless aisle of inventory on the website, but we need to have the right amount. So,
and are you looking at that in terms of just additional traffic and demand for existing product, or are you having to invest in anticipation maybe with deeper or different buys and manufacturing because now these extra eyeballs are coming in, the new marketplaces? So is this very much a demand increase for you, or are you having to build more product as well?
As is literally the first marketplace, we're not doing any extra
right,
product.
So it's just a trial around.
It's just, I mean, with Harvey Nichols, it's, it's a very well-known brand in the UK and Ireland, and we were like, what a better partner, to work with to launch this. It's a small business for us online, and it was like, right, this is a massive opportunity to grow. So for now, we're still sticking to our own, the products that we're making. However, if we just got to see what happens. If we launch 2 other marketplaces next year and the demand's massive, then hopefully we have the means to create more product.
It's just really exciting.
It's really exciting, yeah.
I mean, we're seeing that, across Europe, which is why I have the figures, the direct-to-brand site visit levels are increasing 1 or 2% a year. So in terms of share of visits across Europe, we're seeing the brand sites are now getting maybe 20%. 47% is going to marketplaces, which means that the retailers still have a chunk, but maybe 33% of all traffic for 11,000 of the retailers we track. So it's being squeezed, and the brands are really getting much more attention, but a bit like you've demonstrated, are now having to play in all areas, in the marketplaces, direct, wholesale, and blend all of that.
Yeah.
It really is a sea change.
It is, yeah, and that's one of the reasons I took this role, because it's new, and it really is a blended model, and you still have to be thinking of I still need to be thinking of etonshirts.com.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be driving traffic away from our own brand, because at the end of the day we are one business. And then on the other, the other side of it, it's like, okay, how am I going to drive traffic to Harvey Nichols?
So what's the KPI for the role then? So, at the board meeting in 6 months' time, where
make as much money as possible.
So is that it across all channels?
No. It's it's to open hopefully new digital players as well, and to work with our current major accounts in growing revenue and acquiring new customers. I don't think the KPIs change much it's still business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's not going to change just because I'm on the wholesale side now.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of challenge. And I think what is new for me, certainly, and is different in this role, is who are we going to launch with next, and what kind of assortment are we going to have?
Good. Well, I hope you managed to add in the bottoms to go with the shirts.
Yes, hopefully.
Well, look, it looks like you're having great fun, so thanks for chatting to us. And
Thank
we'll catch up again to see how the marketplace is going.
Indeed.
That's on everyone's lips at the moment.
Yeah.
Great. Hey, Mariana, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Our thanks again go to Mariana for her openness and the insight into that business. So that concludes our pre-Christmas trip to New York. We'll have more from that city early next year after NRF, as well as interviews with leaders in our soon-to-be-released 2020 Top 500. This is the new performance ranking, which will be available in February, and there are quite a few changes of note at the elite level. Stay tuned for more information on that. Now, don't forget to let us know of any people you'd like to hear interviewed, suggest new guests, volunteer yourself, don't be shy, or suggest topics for us to cover. We are all ears. So all that remains is me to say a final thank you to all of our guests throughout 2019. Here's wishing you a very Merry Christmas and happy trading. Job done. Right, now let me see. What do I do this? Slide to pause. Or just, Is that pause?